Why are you wet? He rolled in fox poo, which is just absolutely fantastic. Hi guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. So I need to wipe my glasses. Okay, is that better? Can I see? No, I've made it worse. How's that possible? Hi, I forgot. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing something that I don't think I've ever done on this channel before, but I watch a lot of like videos like this on YouTube anyway, and especially on TikTok. I'm going to be giving you guys like some book recommendations, you know. I am going to be giving you guys 10 books that you need to read in 2022. These are a mixture of books that I found on TikTok, books that were originally films that I either have seen the film first and then read the book, or read the book then watched the film. You know what I mean? And like ones I've read throughout the years, which I think are really good. If you want to see more, then let me know. One of my New Year's resolutions this year was to read a different genre of book, because I realised last year, and even just going through my books now, that I kind of stick to the same genre. These are kind of a mixture, but I generally do tend to go towards the more easy reads. But these ones I'm hoping are a bit interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you are new here. It would mean the absolute world to me. And also comment below if you have, one, read any of these books, or two, if you have any book recommendations for me, please let me know. So I'm just going to jump in because there's a lot to get through. The first one is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Now, I saw this book all over TikTok, and my friend, I remember her telling me ages ago that she thought I would really like the book, and I was like, do you know what? I'm just gonna give it a go. I was in Tesco and it was the last one left on the bookshelf, which I was like, it's meant to be mine. So it's basically about an actress called Evelyn Hugo, who's obviously had 7 husbands throughout her lifetime, and she's now ready to like tell all. She's got a new journalist in to her life, and she's basically saying to her, I will tell you my whole life story, but you don't know why she wants to tell her life story, because out of all the like the big magazines and publishers and authors, why has she chosen this one particular new journalist to reveal her secrets to? That kind of gets you like reading the book to find out why she's hired her, and then you also kind of want to know more about the husbands and how, like, literally, I'm not even kidding you, most of the husbands in this book she married for a purpose, and you find out the purpose in the book. And then there's like a secret love interest which isn't in the title, so you don't get to meet one of the main characters until like this way in, and they're a big part. And I also said to my mum and my friends that this should be like a Netflix series, because there's 7 husbands, 7 series literally all lined up for you on a plate. And I think it'd be really good, because it goes through the different decades. I think it starts in the 30s, and then like it goes through like the Hollywood of the 50s and the 60s and the hippie 70s, and like it just goes through the decades. Yeah, it's really good. Race is represented in this book, the LGBTQ community is represented in this book, and it's really good. Out of 10, honestly, 10 out of 10. I couldn't put it down, and it's one that I wish I could read again from the start. So yes, who's it by? Taylor Jenkins Reid. Oh, she also is the author of Daisy Jones and the Six, which is on my reading list. The next one, so for the longest time ever, when everyone would ask me what my favourite book was, I would always say this book here, until recently, and I will tell you what replaced it as well. One of my favourite books, which was my favourite for a long time, Fractured by Danny Atkins. When I tell you, this book completely, like, if I read it now, it probably wouldn't even be that deep, but it made me completely question my whole entire existence at the end. The main question on the blurb, it says, can 2 different stories lead to the same happy ending, or Rachel, the main girl in the book, stay fractured forever? So like it has 2 different versions of events. So the top one is there's an accident, and then the night of the accident, life after for this girl was absolutely rubbish. She's in a dead-end job, her dad is like dying, she's got like no friends, bad. But then the night of the accident, there was a lucky escape, and then her life is like amazing, and she's got the love of her life, and her dad is healthy. You're flittering between what's real, what's not real. It's kind of like the butterfly effect, but if one thing was to happen in life, like where if one thing was to happen, there's like a knock-on effect for like one incident can change your whole life. And that's kind of what this book is about, following this girl and her 2 different versions of reality based on this one event. It's really good, and the ending made me cry. Yeah, so Fractured, I said for the longest time, was my favourite book. This I will give out of 10. Do you know what? No, I'm gonna give it a 9, because I think, one, it could have been a bit longer. It's quite a, like, it's not very long read, and also towards the end it started getting a bit unbelievable, but I still enjoyed it nevertheless. Now, the one that replaced that you have probably seen all over TikTok, all over Instagram, all over Facebook, all over everywhere, because it's also being made into a film, which I cannot wait, where the Crawdads sing. So this is what it looks like. I obviously have seen this all over TikTok, and it's what made me buy the book, because I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. And plus I like I liked the cover. I am a stickler. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I really, really do. And I had no idea what this book was about when I bought it. I'm not gonna lie, at all. Oh my god, I read this book in about 5 days. I'm not even kidding you. It's written how they speak, which is good and bad because I could really visualize it in my head. But it's set in like North Carolina, and do you know like the proper southern, is it North Carolina? Is North Carolina in the south? A southern twang. Like proper southern state twang. It's literally written like that. So it is literally about a woman, well, it follows the little girl's journey from like child through to like adulthood and everything that happens in between. She lives in this like tiny little abandoned like shack by herself. She does meet these 2 boys from the town who do have shown interest in her, but they're both very, very different boys. Yeah, it kind of works backwards between, so obviously a body is found at the start of the book, and then it flicks between her past as a child and like the boy that's been found, his past as a child, and how all the relationships like kind of form together, and it flicks between like past and present, past and present. If I could give this more than a 10, I would. Absolutely amazing. So next I'm going to do 3, and I'm doing 3 because they are all films. We've got, this was probably the first big book that I read. It's quite a hefty book, to be fair. I read this quite a couple of years ago. It's quite battered and bruised. Oh, it's God, there's dust in my face. I read this during like my Tumblr year, and I would like highlight the bits that I liked because I kept seeing that online. I kept seeing girls, like really indie girls, highlight the books of like quotes of books that they love, and then I thought I would do the same. Like one of them is, there is a comfortable moment when we just sit there and look at each other. Hand in hand, finally together. Yeah, I was such a weird kid. Time Traveler's Wife, one of my favourite films, I would say. If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend. If you have never heard of The Time Traveler's Wife, like the film, it's basically about a man who can time travel, and he first meets this little girl, but he knows that he is with her in the future. So that is a bit weird when you think about it. Like, it's a man who is meeting his wife as a child, but like the woman growing up just knows this guy who comes to visit her every now and again, and then she starts to fall in love with him. But he's never in like one place for too long because he can't control his time travel. He just like disappears whenever. It's kind of about her life that is always on pause because her husband can like not come back for like weeks at a time. So it just follows their relationship really, and I really, really like it. Out of 10, I'm gonna say about a 7, just because it took me so long to get through. A lot of it isn't necessary, which I think is why they cut a lot out in the film. Like a lot of it is just a bit of waffle. 7 out of 10. And then we have Belle. So Belle is a true story of a woman called Dido Belle. And it's all about a woman of colour living in, is it the Renaissance period? So she's the mixed race daughter of a Royal Navy captain and a slave woman. And has been adopted by the Earl of Mansfield. It's really good. It is all to do about slavery and her finding her place in society in a time that was extremely racist. Her wanting to fall in love and get married, like what women were supposed to do in that time, because she would see like her like family doing that and she wanted that, but obviously the people that were in her society that she grew up in, because she grew up in a manor house, they weren't the men that she was like allowed to marry, you know, because they were white and she was not. From the privileged yet unequal lives of Dido and her cousin, I really nearly said dildo then, I'm not gonna lie. From the privileged yet unequal lives of Dido and her cousin Elizabeth to the horrific treatment of African slave, Paula Byrne, the best-selling author of The Real Jane Austen, vividly narrates the story of a family that defied convention, the legal trial that exposed the cruelty of slavery, and the woman who challenged notions of race at the highest rank. Honestly, recommend the book. If you don't want to read the book because you're not a fan of reading, then I would definitely watch the film. It is really, really good. At 10 because it's a true story and I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff. And then The Help, again, I would say this is one of my favourite ever films. So The Help, I'm sure you would have heard of this film. It's got Emma Stone in it, it's got Viola Davis, is it? Viola Davis in it. So it's basically about a group of nannies in the 1960s who are all black and they are nannies to white children. But obviously it's there's still racism out there, but it was very, very racist in the 60s in America. So it says that these maids are trusted to raise white children but aren't trusted not to steal the silver. And it follows three maids? So there's one who is like the main nanny who is raising her 17th baby whilst she has become motherless herself because her son tragically passed away. There's one who's very sassy and is quite big, and she's like the cook. She like can really cook food. Then there is Skeeter, who is played by Emma Stone, and she is a white woman who is a journalist that's come back from New York on her holiday, and she wants to know why the maid that she had growing up has just randomly disappeared. So she kind of becomes friends with the nannies and she kind of gets a relationship with them, and she learns all about how they're treated and stuff. It's really, really good. Each is in search of a truth, and together they have an extraordinary story to tell. Really funny as well. There are funny parts in the book and the film. Good, solid book. I don't think I'm even gonna rate these because they're all gonna be 10 out of 10s from me. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Another one, which I don't have the cover because I took the sleeve off. It's called The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. I will post like some pictures of what it looks like on the cover here. I got the hardback big book version because it looked really nice. Oh, just look at that. Even the first page looks amazing. Can you even see that properly? So this, I do believe, is also being made into a film. So at the start of the book, it's happened with a big event, and then it kind of goes backwards, and then it builds up throughout the book to that event, and then you learn what happens afterwards. And I like that because it grips you like straight from the get-go, you know, like you don't have to read and build up to it and then you find out a big thing at the end. Like, I like that it grabbed my attention from the start. And oh, my back is really hurting sat like this on the floor. It's about, and it's also based, well, it's not based on a true story, but elements of it are true, so I guess that you could say it's based on a true story. It's about a traveling library. It's about a traveling library. Basically, it's set in like the mountains somewhere in America, and these women would go take their horses and take this big carriage full of books and take them to people that were really deprived and had like no money, lived in shacks that had wallpaper made out of like newspaper to insulate the walls to keep them warm, like broke, poverty-stricken people. But they wanted them to have an education and to read, so these women would go up the mountains and give out books to them for the library. And the initiative, it was started by a famous president's wife. Hold on, give me a second. This is it. First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt started the Pack Horse Library Project in 1934. So it says a group of librarians, mostly women, ride up to the 20-mile Kentucky. It's set in Kentucky. They would ride up 20 miles routes in the Kentucky mountains, delivering books to people and families. So yeah, that is where they went basically. And it follows a woman who's a bit not the norm. Like she is a bit like boisterous, and she's not like how the typical women in that town, like she didn't want to settle down and get married. They think she's a bit of a spinster. It follows her. It follows a woman who moved to town with like the town village hunk from England. So she lived in England, she moved with her husband, who was like, I want to say like the American quarterback, that kind of image I had in my head of him when they were describing him in the book. So she moves back with him. It follows like a little girl, well, I say little girl, she's like a teenager who's a bit rebellious. And there's the men in the story as well who have a role to play. You get attached to all the characters in it. And I also love the fact that this actually happened. Like women would get in their horses and take a library up the mountain in like weathers of all sorts just so people could read. That's amazing to me, and I think more people should know about that. Yeah, the event at the start of the book was good. The whole story throughout kept me gripped. I liked learning about each character and their own little storylines. You felt sorry for some of them. I cried, I laughed. And then when the event happens again towards the end of the book, I liked the aftermath, you know what I mean? Like it had a good ending. It didn't have me wanting more. It didn't have me like, oh, deflated. It was a good ending to a book. I'm gonna try and quickly whiz through the last three because I've been talking for a very long time and I need a coffee. So we've got Marion Keyes Grown Ups. Again, big book. This is losing points for me because it did not have to be this big. It's literally like 2 books in, like look, that's a chunky book. But it basically follows the lives of a family. Again, do you know what I've discovered reading these? I like a book that goes back in time because that's what like the Crow Dads, where the Crow Dads sing, that's like that. And so was The Giver of Stars, and this is also like that. So there's a big family event that happens at the start of the book, and then like someone says like, you tell her, and it's like, no, you tell her, and then someone's like, tell me what? And then it goes back. You know that there's secrets in this family that are gonna get exposed, but then it takes you back and you learn about each member of the family. And do you know what? I could tell this book was going to be complicated because I will show you at the start of the book. There is a family tree that most of these characters are mentioned in the book, and most of them play a main role, which is probably why it's so big, because you need to like learn about every single member of the family, and they all have a role to play, and they're all important. So there's a lot of people. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 24 characters in this book. So yeah, that's why it's big. But it follows a family, and I think they're Irish family. 3 brothers who all have wives, and all the wives are going through their own shit. All the husbands are going through their own stuff. The husband's relationship with each brother is a bit rocky. The grandparents' relationship's a bit rocky. It's a good book. Didn't really like the ending, which is why I'm gonna give it an 8. There was one character in the book who deserved something that didn't get what they wanted properly, and they like half got it, you know what I mean? They like had a taste of what they wanted and they just said no, which really annoyed me. I was like, why? The whole book was building up to them getting this thing, and then when they had the opportunity to get it, they didn't want it. And I was like, what? So that has annoyed me. But all the other characters, I liked their kind of story arc, which was good. But yeah, it was a good read, a long read. This took me quite a while to get through, but yeah, I'm glad I read it. I got really attached to the characters in the book because there's so bloody many. So yeah, and I think Marion Keyes does a really good job of making you fully understand the characters in the book as well. So for that reason, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. So Erica James, for a big while, this is called Tell It to the Skies. So Tell It to the Skies by Erica James. I was obsessed with Erica James books for quite a while. And just the graphics like on it is just beautiful. It's about a woman who basically gets told to go live with her grandparents in Italy, and she has to grow up really fast, and she has a horrible like childhood, and like she has to learn to keep secrets, and you like learn what those secrets are throughout the book. And then she is an adult, so it goes from like a childhood to adulthood, and then she like hears a voice that's very familiar to her, and then something happens between these 2 people, and you learn who it is, and she has to kind of then revisit her past, which she's trying to forget. But I really liked it. I think it made me cry, if I remember rightly. One of her books made me really cry, and I think it might have been this one. I might reread it, you know. Do you ever get that? Like, I have so many books I've read that I've forgotten what happens in most of them. So for this reason, I'm giving it an 8, because I can't fully remember, but I remember crying at it or laughing at it. But I loved it either way. And the last one I'm going to talk about, which is one of the most recent ones I read, is called The Note. Now, The Note is a nice, easy read, I would say. Nothing like majorly big happens in it, but it's based on a true story, which I loved as well, and you find the picture of the real people at the end. The Note is basically about a woman who finds a guy really attractive on her commute to work on the train, and she leaves him a note asking him to go for a drink. And that's like the start of it, and then he's living his own life and she's living her own life, and they keep missing each other by chance. And I loved that. I loved the fact that that actually happened in real life, and it had a good ending, you know what I mean? It says, the note is an uplifting, life-affirming reminder that taking chance can change everything, and I fully agree with this. But do you know what? It did take me a while to get into, I think. So I'm giving it again, an 7.5. It was a nice easy read. I loved the fact that it was based on a true story. I loved the fact that, you know, it teaches you just what's the worst that can happen in life, but it was a bit of a slow burner. Those are my 10 book recommendations for you guys that you must read in 2022. I probably should have done 12 because you could have done one a month, but hey ho, I was not that organised with this video at all. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, do let me know below if you've read any of them, or if you have any book recommendations for me, do let me know. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys soon for a brand new video.